Good morning, everyone. Welcome to In the Garden with Joyful Living. I am your host, Kimberly Dixon. So, this morning, I am trying something new. So, please forgive me if there are any hiccups or something isn't just quite right. And also, please let me know if there's any issues with the volume or anything of that nature, echoes or things, because we may have to stop this one and then go back to just Facebook Live for this morning until I work the kinks out. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know what I'm doing. So while we wait for more people to join us, I'm gonna go ahead and start showing you the garden. So just so you know, I'm using two different devices, my laptop as well as my phone, to see if we can get this to work. It's an adventure. So come with me on my adventure. While we wait for additional people to join us, I'm going to give you a look at the garden this morning. So there's our lovely little spider that hangs around with us all the time. The zucchini plants are doing well. And we have our muncher cucumber that's finally starting to grow. This one here in the back is the straight eight cucumber. This is a little bigger than I would normally leave it on the vine, but I wanted to specifically show you what happens when it's a little bit overripe. So this cucumber might be a little bit bitter at this point and just won't be at its best because it's overripe at this point. We still have the Roma tomatoes doing well. You can see, barely see, but there's some basil smelling delicious as always. That raspberry bush or raspberry stick never came out of the dormant state, so really not sure what happened with it, but we're going to call that a learning experience. Jalapeno peppers doing fantastic. They look beautiful. They're just everywhere. These marigolds look fantastic. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Marigolds are so beneficial to your garden. They are beautiful, but I don't like the way they smell, and you can actually smell them. But guess what? Harmful insects don't like the way they smell either, so that they will leave your garden spot alone. Look at that red cayenne pepper. It's getting down. It looks almost like Christmas with the red and green together. Excuse me. But the star that's showing out is this Japanese eggplant. So those two larger ones, I'm actually going to pick it today so that they don't get overripe. But look at all of the eggplant flowers where we're going to be getting additional eggplant very soon. And there's a baby one. It's a baby eggplant, but it looks great. The snow peas are pretty much done for the summer because it's just too hot for them. They enjoy spring and fall weather. Look at my bee balm, precisely what I wanted it to do, which was invite more pollinators into the garden. But hopefully, they will make their way over to the cucumber plant so that I can get some more cucumbers. This sweet banana pepper, I'm going to pick this one today because I like to wait until my banana peppers have lost all their tinge of green. As you see, that one has a little bit of green still left to the color, but this one is just a pale yellow. I don't know if you can see the difference in it, but because it's so slight, you can barely tell, but it makes a difference in the ripeness of it. That red bell pepper, she's going to be ready any day now, looking delicious. In the meantime, if I needed a green bell pepper, I could use that one back there, but I'm letting all of these turn red because I have a separate green bell pepper that is doing fantastic. Now you can see these little bottles here that are in some of the containers. Because I went camping this week, them to have a supply of water while I was gone. So that's an excellent way to water your plants when you're not going to have access to your garden. There's just a tiny hole in the lid. I think this was an old Perrier bottle. Just a tiny hole in it so that the water just slowly drips out. We've got the beginnings of the first female zucchini. So when that flower opens up, hopefully a bee will pollinate it and it will continue to grow. Otherwise, it'll die and it'll just fall off of the stem. The romaine lettuce, excuse me. There's another cucumber that I'm going to pick today. But one morning is I have watermelon. We have tiny watermelons that are growing that I have laid on the deck here. That's the homemade rain barrel. Excuse me. I am so sorry. My spearmint that I'm going to be using today in a watermelon spearmint salad. The asparagus is still doing lovely. So, and here's the cherry tomato. It has so many ripe tomatoes on it that I'm actually going to pick this morning and have with my breakfast. It never fails that as soon as I start talking, I start coughing. Again, I apologize. So this morning, we are going to be talking about the essence of joy. Hopefully this pollen won't continue to disrupt my ability to talk. So recently, someone asked me, how am I so joyful all the time? What is it that allows me? Well, then they say, how are you so joyful all the time? But then they followed that up with, how are you so happy all the time? So I had to really clarify things for them. So this morning, although I've talked about this before, I am so sorry. So although that I've spoken about this before, I want to really talk to you again about really what is the essence of joy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to complete this because my throat is just not acting right. Something has me coughing this morning. More so than usual. So the definition of essence is an intrinsic nature or indispensable quality of something, especially something abstract, that determines its character. And I really like that because it's something abstract, but it has a profound effect on your character and who you really are. So the definition of joy is a feeling of great pleasure or happiness. But the biblical definition of joy is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness that is dependent on who Jesus is rather than on who we are or what happens around us. And that definition comes from just disciple.com. So what people really need to understand is that joy that is based on a relationship with Jesus isn't dependent upon life circumstances. And it helps you actually get through life circumstances when you have the type of joy that is based on a relationship. So joy isn't always being happy. And I think that's where the major confusion comes from. People think that in order for you to be joyful, it means that you're happy all the time. And that's just not true. Because in life, there are going to be some things that really knock you on your back, a lot of hardships. But having joy isn't determined by those hardships. It's determined by that innate joy that's on the inside of you that you were born with, that God gave to you. So being joyful doesn't mean that you're never going to be sad. It doesn't mean that you're going to be not ever going to be angry, because we are all full of a lot of complex emotions. But being joyful means that, one, you can emotions for what they are, and you can let them pass, but that you don't ever lose sight of who you are intrinsically, innately, who you are, who the person that God created you to be. So being joyful isn't I'm happy and skipping through the daisies all the time. It is uh, I know who I am, and I know that this situation is temporary. And being able to make that differentiation is what allows you to keep your joy and to get your joy. Yes, when life knocks you on your back, you lose your job, you lose your spouse, there's a death in your family, or a close friends. Those things knock the breath out of you. And even in those situations, though, when you are a joyful person, you will realize this is a temporary situation. I'll get my joy back. But it's important that when you're going through those things, that you allow yourself the time that you need to grieve. Because this is something I want people to understand. Grief is not just something that's associated with death. Grief is associated with any kind of loss, whether it is a loss of a friendship. Good morning, Tara. Whether it is a loss of a spouse, a loss of a job. I remember the profound grief I felt when I lost my ability to walk, when I became disabled. It was a grief process that people didn't understand. But in the middle of that grief, I still had my joy. I still knew who I was innately. I still knew who I was on the inside. And although I was not happy every day, I still had that joy. So the essence of joy isn't about being happy every day of your life. It is about being able to know who you are in the worst of situations, and not losing sight of that. Being able to tap into that joy when you are grieving, when you are sad, when you are uh, angry, so that you don't forget who you are at your core and step over that line. Because when we don't know who we are at our core, it's easy to let our anger take us to some place we don't really want to be. It's easy to show. Um, Everybody has multiple sides, and we don't always want all of those sides of the show, but it's in all of us. But when you make a choice, that is the main thing that joy is about. It is about making a choice. It's making a choice every day. It's making a choice in every situation. It's making a choice in every circumstance. Because if I could go back and tell you the things that have happened since I made the decision that I wanted to be joyful, you'll be like, you don't have anything to be joyful about. But that's not true. Being joyful is about being able to keep your perspective. Because as I said before, life is going to be full of hardships, but it doesn't have to be hard. That's one of my favorite sayings. It's one of my quotes. I didn't hear it anywhere. I just thought it was perfect for life, because no matter who you are, there's going to be things that you go through. There are going to be, Tara said, I choose joy. Let it move you. Yes. And I love that you put the music note behind that and in front of it, because that's what it is. It's playing a soundtrack to your own life. You get to choose. It is your perspective. Is it half full or half empty? And I know when I look at life half empty, then I feel empty in every situation. Even when you're happy, it doesn't feel the same because you are looking for all that are going on in life. But when you choose joy, when you choose to see some of the positive things that are going on, some of the good things that are going on, whether that be in your circumstances, in the people that you have around you, and all of those things, you have to make a choice, and it's a daily choice. I know when I was disabled, sometimes it was a second by second choice, but I knew that living in pain and living in grief wasn't what I wanted to show the world every day. Because if I did, I would be sad and mad all the time. I was sad because I was in a tremendous amount of pain, but I was mad because I'm a young 30s and it looks and it feels like my life has literally evaporated right in front of my eyes. Couldn't see the future because I was blinded by the pain of today. But every day I got up and I chose joy. My physical therapist told me once, like, Kim, you're one of our favorite patients, but we don't know how you do it. We had a conversation about you the other day. It's like, we know what your x-rays look like. We know what the conditions of your knees look like. And we know that you are in a tremendous amount of pain. Say, but when you come in this room, you light it up. Not only just for us, but for the other patients in here. They are all excited to see you. They all want to be a part of whatever it is you're doing. And I told them that day, Tara said, second by second, that's so true. But I told them, it's like, this is who I choose to be. I could come in here angry and mad every time, but that only makes me feel worse. Because think about it. When you're angry, what's the first? You clench your teeth and clench your jaw up. What does that do? It gives you a headache. It can give you earache. And if you do it so long, it'll give you a tension headache in the back of your neck. It'll make your neck muscles get tight, which only add to more pain. So when you choose to be joyful, it actually will reduce your physical pain, and it definitely will alleviate some mental anguish. So this essence of joy, it isn't about being happy all the time. If I don't get anything else across to people, being joyful is not about being happy. Happy is a fleeting emotion. It comes and goes. It ebbs and flows with life. As life circumstances and situation go up and down, so does your happiness. But joy is on a different level. It is a choice. And I want to implore with you today to start making some different choices in every situation. God, me and Val talked about it. Valerie is my sister. When Daddy died, that we were still going to choose to be joyful, because guess what? For me, I had Daddy in my life for 49 years and 4 months. My calculation might be a little off, but it is definitely 49 years. And I was grateful for the relationship we had. So instead of being just Sunshine, absolutely, Tara. Did you know that Sunshine is actually my nickname from my other Tara? My Tara Bug, Tara Siegel gave me that nickname the weekend that we met. And I thought she was the star or the bright light in the room, but she thought that was me. And Tara is a little bit more uh, assertive than I am. And I wanted to call her Sunshine, but she insisted that I was Sunshine. She won. So in my circle of friends, that's my nickname. And that in itself gives me great pleasure and joy, because to know that someone else can look at you and see the light that's on the inside of you and you be part of their joy. So when we're thinking about life, we have to remember. Tara said, yep, I know that's your nickname. when we're thinking about joy, we have to remember that it's something that we choose. And we have to remember that give yourself permission to feel all of the emotions that come along with life. God made us multifaceted, complex people for that very reason. You are allowed to feel those things. Just don't start to act on them, because then that can get you in a whole lot more trouble than you ever anticipated. Don't act on it, but you are allowed to feel all of it. Feel the pain, the suffering that we experience sometimes. Give yourself permission to fully open up your heart. And when you do that, guess what? You'll also be able to fully experience what joy is, because you'll recognize the difference in them. You'll be able to know, okay, yes, I'm feeling pain right now. I feel grief right now, but I still feel that joy that's on the inside of me. And if you just let the grief play, some days it's going to feel unbearable, but other days it won't be so pressing. But if you give yourself permission to range of emotions that we are as, then you can fully appreciate what it is to live in joy. And I remember hearing old songs in the old church and hearing old people say, I feel my help coming on. And they're referring to Jesus. But also, when I say it, sometimes I mean I feel my joy coming on, which means I'm still referring to Jesus, because that is my guiding light. That is what helps me get through everything. So remember, when you're talking about the essence of joy, it is not a fleeting thing. It's always there. Happiness, anger, fleeting. Mad, fleeting. They're emotions. They come and go. But joy never dissipates. It never leaves. It's always there. So guys, thank you for watching In the Garden with Joyful Living and listening to me really talk about what joy is, because again, I got a question from somebody that said, I don't understand how you can be so joyful, but then they immediately said you're happy all the time. And that's just not the case. I'm not happy all the time. I'm human, and I give myself permission to experience the human condition. We all suffer with it, the human condition. But and also thank you for bearing with me as I experimented with Restream this morning, because again, I'm using two different devices, my laptop and my cell phone, because I wanted to be able to show you the garden as I do every morning. So we'll continue to do this. I will get better with time, but I appreciate you sticking with me this morning as I worked out the kinks. So, guys, I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.